a guidebook for holiness, written by Morgan Freeman through the wormhole. The Book of Leviticus can be a bit of a puzzle. It's nestled in the middle of the Bible, filled with rules and rituals that seem strange to modern eyes. But this book holds a key to understanding God and his relationship with his people. Leviticus is a guidebook for holiness, showing us how a holy God can dwell among a sinful people. It's a blueprint for the Israelites' journey toward God, a journey paved with sacrifices, feasts, and a deep reverence for the divine. The essence of holiness. Imagine a being of pure light, so radiant and powerful that it's overwhelming. That's a glimpse into God's holiness. It's not just about being good, it's about being entirely other, set apart and infinitely perfect. Leviticus emphasizes that God's holiness isn't some abstract idea. It's the very core of his being, and it demands a response. Because God is holy, he cannot tolerate sin. But he also provides a way for sinful humans to approach him, a way paved with sacrifice and obedience. Think of holiness like a pristine white canvas. Sin is like a splash of mud, instantly noticeable. Leviticus shows us how to clean the canvas, how to approach the divine. Despite our imperfections, it's a process of continual purification, a lifelong journey of drawing closer to God's light. Offerings to the Almighty. In Leviticus, sacrifices are central, but they're not about appeasing an angry God. They're about acknowledging sin, seeking forgiveness, and restoring fellowship with God. The book outlines 5 main offerings: the burnt offering, the grain offering, the peace offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering. Each sacrifice had a specific purpose. The burnt offering, for example, was a gift of complete surrender, symbolizing total dedication to God. The sin offering, on the other hand, atoned for unintentional sins, highlighting the need for cleansing from wrongdoing. These offerings weren't empty rituals, they were tangible expressions of repentance, gratitude, and dependence on God. Imagine each sacrifice as a stepping stone, guiding the Israelites back to God. Each offering was a reminder of their human weakness and God's immense grace, a tangible way to experience forgiveness and draw closer to the divine. Sacred appointments. Life for the Israelites wasn't all sacrifices and rituals. God also gave them feasts, celebrations woven into the fabric of their year. These weren't just parties, they were sacred appointments, times to remember God's faithfulness, express gratitude, and reaffirm their covenant with him. Leviticus 23 lists 7 annual feasts: Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, trumpets, Day of Atonement, and tabernacles. Each feast commemorated a significant event in Israel's history or marked a crucial point in the agricultural calendar. Think of these feasts like mile markers on a long journey. They provided moments of pause, reflection, and celebration amidst the routines of life. Each feast was a vibrant tapestry, woven with history, gratitude, and anticipation, reminding the Israelites of God's constant presence and unwavering faithfulness. In Leviticus, priests weren't just religious leaders. They were guardians of the sanctuary, mediators between God and his people. They were responsible for performing sacrifices, maintaining ritual purity, and instructing the Israelites in God's laws. The role of a priest was a high calling, demanding strict purity and unwavering obedience. They were chosen from the tribe of Levi, set apart for this sacred duty. Their lives were a living example to the Israelites, demonstrating the discipline and devotion required to approach a holy God. Imagine the priests as bridge builders, carefully constructing a path for people to reach God. Their meticulous adherence to rituals and sacrifices wasn't about empty legalism, it was about creating a safe and holy space for people to encounter the divine. They were living reminders of God's presence, guiding the Israelites toward holiness. Purity, physical and spiritual. Leviticus might seem obsessed with cleanliness, but the book's emphasis on ritual purity isn't about physical hygiene alone. It points to a deeper spiritual truth. Just as the Israelites were to keep their bodies and homes clean, they were also to maintain spiritual purity, separating themselves from anything that could contaminate their relationship with God. The laws regarding bodily discharges, skin diseases, and dietary restrictions all served a purpose. They highlighted the distinction between the sacred and the profane, the clean and the unclean. These regulations were a constant reminder that holiness permeated every aspect of life, demanding attention to both physical and spiritual well-being. Think of ritual purity like tuning a musical instrument. Just as a musician must carefully adjust each string to create harmony, the Israelites were to fine-tune their lives to achieve spiritual resonance with God. Purity in all its forms was essential for approaching the divine. Food for a holy people. Leviticus outlines specific dietary laws distinguishing between clean and unclean animals. While the exact reasoning behind these laws isn't explicitly stated, they likely served multiple purposes. They may have protected the Israelites from diseases, promoted ecological balance, or reinforced their distinct identity as God's chosen people. The kosher laws transcended mere hygiene. They ingrained a sense of holiness into everyday life. By carefully choosing which foods to eat, the Israelites were reminded of God's covenant and their commitment to live differently from the surrounding nations. Imagine these dietary laws as a daily reminder of God's presence. Each meal became an act of obedience, a tangible way to live out their covenant with God. Food, a basic human need, became infused with spiritual significance, reminding the Israelites of their unique relationship with the divine. Atonement, a day of reckoning. Once a year, the Israelites observed a solemn occasion, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This wasn't a day for feasting, it was a day for repentance, for confronting their sin and seeking God's forgiveness. The high priest would enter the Holy of Holies, the most sacred space in the tabernacle, to offer a sacrifice for the sins of the entire nation. The Day of Atonement was a stark reminder of sin's consequences. It was a time for self-examination, confession, and pleading for God's mercy. This day highlighted the gravity of sin and the absolute necessity of atonement. Imagine the weight of sin pressing down on the Israelites, a heavy burden lifted only through the high priest's sacrifice. This day was a powerful reminder that sin had a cost, but God, in his infinite mercy, provided a way back to himself. It was a day of reckoning that pointed toward hope, a reminder that forgiveness and reconciliation were possible. The covenant's choice, blessing or curse. Leviticus concludes with a powerful message. Obedience brings blessings, but disobedience leads to curses. This isn't about God being vindictive, it's about the natural consequences of choices. When the Israelites honored God's covenant, they experienced his favor and protection, but when they turned away, they faced hardship and exile. Moses' words are a stark reminder of the covenant's terms. They were a call to choose life, to walk in God's ways and experience the fullness of his blessings. The choice was theirs. Embrace God's holiness and flourish, or reject his ways and face the consequences. Think of Moses' words as a compass, guiding the Israelites toward a life of blessing. He wasn't trying to scare them. He was urging them to choose wisely, to embrace the path that led to life and shun the one that led to destruction. Their destiny, their very survival, hinged on their obedience to the covenant.